Locker Talks. Locker Talks. Locker Talks. Welcome to Locker Talk, episode 24, the show everything WWE, past, present, and future. I am your host, Colton, and by my side, my co-host, the main event, Matt. We have a fantastic show for you, and by fantastic, I mean that it is a fantastic show. We're going to answer some awesome fan questions. We have a bunch of them that have piled up over the past time, and so let's just jump right into it. We've got other few topics we're going to discuss as well, but I think we need to jump right into some fan questions, maybe try to trip Matt a little bit. He doesn't really know exactly what all these questions are. And so let's get it started from our number one fan, Daniel Farmer. Farmer, first off, wants to know, who do we think has the worst ring gear in wrestling history? And he brought up the idea of Giant Gonzalez, which sucks because that was going to be my first choice. A lot of bad potential ring gear out there. Matt, do you have any that you can think of off the top of your head here?
Well, I might get disqualified with this one, but I might go with the gobbledygooker on that. Anytime an animal is portrayed, it is a disaster.
Yeah, gobbledygooker. Mantar, the bull guy, so like the bigger version of El Torito, pretty bad. El Torito, I think, is pretty bad as well.
Yeah.
Basically any of those. The Dicks, Bastion Booger, really any of those mid-90s job type wrestlers just don't look good. Didn't have
I'd go with Bull Dempsey right now just because it's revealing a little too much.
But his robe did look quite nice on NXT this week. A nice homecoming for Bull. Bull fit, he looks fantastic, so keep it up, Bull. We're all proud of you and rooting for you here. Next question from Daniel Farmer has to do with Raw GMs. And Matt, what are some of your favorite Raw GMs? Who are some of your least favorite Raw GMs? Let's try to leave out the celebrities. We'll get to that one later. Mm-hmm. But, GMs, let's just go with anybody in power. Like, what do you like? Who don't you like? All this, that.
I'm gonna have to go. I really liked the anonymous Raw GM when it was just the laptop. I don't know why, but I was really into that. I was into the lights flashing when he wanted to interrupt. I also liked Eric Bischoff in charge. The Hoff, as I like to call him this one time.
Yeah. He
was cool because you had that figure you had like to hate, you know. That's what you need in the general manager. You need someone that you can hate. Other than that, people I don't like, I don't know. Other than those two, I really just don't care who's the GM. I don't care about it.
I have to say, I agree with your Eric Bischoff one just because I hated him so much when he was GM. He started kind of on the tail end when I was starting to realize that wrestling is more than just what is being presented on the TV screen. You know, he's really, well, he might be that terrible of a guy, but he's not terrible in that way. One of my favorite all times. Is near and dear to our hearts, the exception of the great people in charge who don't necessarily have to be bad guys, is Commissioner Mick Foley. Commish Foley was one of my favorite iterations of Mick Foley. They were just able to do so much fun stuff with Foley, with his roving office and just using him to tick off the heels, but at the same time he could kind of he could lay down the law as well, but there's a lot of fun sketches with him and guys like Kurt Angle and Edge and Christian back in the day. which just makes for some of the best comedy, I think, in WWE. Worst has to be Mike Adamle. That guy was just terrible. I'm sure Jeff Hardy doesn't like him either. But yeah, Mike Adamle was bad. Brad
Wasn't Mike
Maddox.
Adamle the one who walked out?
I don't remember. All I know
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he walked out because he said he couldn't handle it.
I hope so, because he was really, really bad. Yeah, let's see. Brad Maddox. I feel like they could have used Brad Maddox a little more. I kind of liked the whole, what was it, Joshua King fellow or something, whatever his odd new blonde gimmick is. I kind of liked him as GM. They could have used him a little more. He's kind of a tiny little annoying little rat of a person, so that's always fun. Let's see. Am I missing any other of Farmer's questions? I believe that's it. Oh wait, no.
Well,
we have
Farmer
one.
also had the.
We have
He
a
also
couple
had the
more.
recent question.
He has a what?
The recent question about the Rollins and whatnot.
We'll get to that. Don't you worry, because every little thing is going to be all right. All right, this next one, it'll be a quick one. We already answered this on Twitter, but we're going to answer it on the show. Matt, right now, we already got someone to fill these shoes, but should Zach Brown be in the Wyatt family?
Of course, yes, no question.
Yeah, it would be great. He could do an awesome live version of their entrance every time they come to the ring. That would be really awesome. I do like the new guy they got, Strowman, whatever his first name. That guy was, holy crap, that is just a monster of a man. I don't think I've ever seen a guy with just a chest that large and massive. Really impressed. Much rather have this guy than Adam Rose. But yeah, Zach Brown, definitely. Let's see. No, we're gonna skip that question. Sorry, I'll answer that one on Twitter. We don't quite have the time for that one. But thank you, Farmer, for your questions, and once again, thank you everyone for submitting your questions and your thoughts. Next question comes from our great friend at Steven Sorrell on Twitter. He has a great wrestling website, letstalkwwe.com. And we have a plethora of questions from Steven, but the first one is a question very near and dear to his heart. And he wants to know what our thoughts about Emma. Do we prefer evil Emma or do we prefer bubbly, happy-go-lucky Emma? So, Matt, what do you think about this Aussie diva?
I mean, preferably for entertainment standpoint, I prefer bubbly Emma. I prefer Santino Marella Emma if we're talking about all-time Emmas. But yeah, I think bubbly, because entertainment factor, there's so many divas, you get lost in the shuffle anyway, so why not go bubbly because you stand out as just a funny person and fun in-ring entrance.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I think I like evil Emma more. I think I think sometimes the kind of bubbly personality kind of overshadows her wrestling ability. And I think she's really underrated as a wrestler. She does a really good job. She got a win at the Brooklyn tapings on accident. Apparently she pinned Becky Lynch, and it was either Dana Brooke or Charlotte was supposed to come in and break up the count. Nobody did, and the referee doing his job counted to 3, and Emma won by accident. And I'm really surprised that WWE didn't edit that in any way, although I don't know how they could edit that out. That was a kind of a huge, huge botch. But yeah, I like evil Emma. I feel it seems more real to me. I mean, I don't think she's actually evil, but nobody's that happy all the time. And I think it's getting her over with the crowd more than bubbly Emma did, and that's apparent. She obviously didn't do that well after the departure of dear old Santino. So yeah, I think both have their merits, but I'm gonna have to go with bubbly Emma. So great question. Another question from our good friend Steven. And I'm going to expand on this one a little bit. what do we think about Kevin Owens being used in a tag team scenario recently? And I'm going to expand that out to, it seems like WWE is using for their main events all these 6-man tag matches and their 8-man tag matches to get all these people in the match and get everybody TV time. But to me, you have a 3-hour show, and you should be able to fit all these guys in without having to have these big matches. And I personally, I don't mind 6-man or 8-man tag matches. And I definitely don't mind Kevin Owens doing whatever he feels like doing. And I like them, but at the same time, I do have to agree with what a lot of people are saying. We are getting it too much. It seems like every week that is the main event of Raw. And it's been a staple on SmackDown since the Holla Holla Playa days. And so, Matt, what are your thoughts on WWE kind of lumping everyone into tag team matches as of late, just to kind of get everybody time and at the same time, if it were?
I think you said it exactly right. They have 3 hours, you know. They have 3 hours to fill. They could do it. Recently they're clumping like Orton, Sheamus, Owen, Cesaro, Cena, all those guys together. And when realistically they have all these opportunities, you can break them up and give like Xavier Woods a match against Kevin Owens or do something like that, because they have too much promo time currently. I feel you open the show with a promo from Seth Rollins, sometimes from Cena, then you have promos from New Day, you have promos from Rusev, you have promos from Cesaro, Owens. There's too much talking time. There's not enough wrestling time anymore. And they need to cut some of that out to put some of that in. You can release Ryback, Big Show, Miz altogether from their duties and fill those guys in their time slots, because Lord knows that those 3 men are useless as all heck. And that's about all I got to say about that.
Okay, so I want to expand on this idea of Xavier Woods against Kevin Owens. I think that could be one of the most entertaining matches we've seen in a long time. Just on the fact that it would have to be booked where Xavier Woods is yelling at Kevin Owens throughout the entire match, getting Kevin Owens more and more angry as Xavier managed to escape from the clutches of the crazed Canadian. And I just think that would be fun because, honestly, Xavier Woods is one of my favorite parts of WWE right now. The trombone was fantastic on Raw. And so I'm just extremely entertained by Xavier Woods. I want to see more of the New Day. They're doing absolutely amazing work right now.
I have a side question.
Yeah.
You personally, what do you like to see? New Day celebration dance or a fat guy touchdown dance?
New Day celebration dance any day of the week. It's so good. Because Big E is nowhere near fat, but he's obviously a bigger guy, so you kind of get a bit of that from Big E. So yeah, really, really entertaining stuff. Who would have thought those months ago that New Day would be this over and that we would all love them so much? All right, so thank you, Steven. We have one more question from Mr. Steven Sorrell, and he wants to know who do we think are the most sympathetic heels of all time? And to me, this is kind of it almost seems kind of backwards or kind of contradictory. The idea that a heel or a face rather is the one who's supposed to be sympathetic and is supposed to garner attention. So Matt, can you think of anybody who you might think would be a sympathetic heel?
Right now, I can think of Rusev because Ziggler's kind of being a dick about the whole stealing Lana thing and making out with her in front of Rusev all the time. Yes, Rusev was a jerk as well, but I mean, Ziggler can tone it down a little bit. So I feel kind of sympathetic towards the Rusev character throughout this, and I feel like he should have gotten the win at SummerSlam as well. Other than that, sympathetic heels. It's just hard to feel sympathetic for a heel sometimes. I feel sympathetic for certain heel characters for not getting wins, like Bray Wyatt, but not his character.
Yeah, on that Rusev idea, I would be very sympathetic for anybody who loses Lana. You just got to feel for someone in that situation. That can't be an easy thing to go through. So our sympathies definitely go out to Rusev. And really, when I think of sympathetic heels, I think potentially with Steve Austin at WrestleMania in the match against Bret Hart. He obviously starts out the match as this big heel, but as the match progresses, he becomes a face, and so in his turning, he becomes sympathetic. And that iconic image of Steve Austin locked in the sharpshooter with blood pouring down his face makes him for a very sympathetic. But other than that, I'm not really sure. Steven, if you're watching this eventually, maybe elaborate a little more on this, or maybe give us your thoughts. Or if you're not Steven,
kind of a big question.
Yeah, somebody else, give us your thoughts. Anybody, we'd love to hear all of your thoughts on WWE. And so, once again, thank you, Steven. Once again, that is at Steven Cyril. He has a website at letstalkwwe.com. Go check it out. It's really, really good. He helped us out with another segment that we'll have a little bit later in this show. And last but certainly not least, our dear friends across the pond, RTM Wrestling. Go check them out on Twitter. Fantastic YouTube show. They post some other really fun videos on YouTube as well. Andy and Emma, they have asked us. I lost it. Here we go. My bad. Okay, favorite celebrity guests. And assume that because they are American, that we won't know who they are. We, obviously being Andy and Emma. And so this is where I was talking about before with the GM. So who are some of your favorite celebrity guests? And maybe try to describe them a little bit so they know who they are, or if you can think of a funny way of describing some of these people, go for that. What do you got?
Well, it's kind of hard to remember some of them from back in like 2006, 2008, because they're just, spot appearances. But one of my favorites, and they'll definitely won't know who they are. From Jackass, we have Steve-O and one other person from Jackass. They came out to interrupt Umaga and Estrada. And these guys are rail thin, heroin using thin, tattoos everywhere. And they take off their shirts and they're like, let's do this right now. And Umaga just like Samoan drops both of them. I think just picks both of them up at one point, just drops them down, just everywhere. And it was fun to watch. Also another one. I don't like the guy, Kevin Federline, but I liked watching Cena FU him a couple times. That was fun to watch. And also, it wasn't in WWE, but in TNA, in 2005, right after the White Sox won the World Series, AJ Przinsky came out with a baseball bat to interrupt someone. And it was just fun to see him out there doing this thing because he got kind of physical with people. It's fun to see the celebrities get physical with the superstars. Kind of like on Sunday, they take a few bumps. They're not afraid to do this. They're living out a childhood fantasy.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think I'd have to say those.
Yeah. With that said, I think that Stephen Amell did an absolutely fantastic job. And I obviously discussed this on our reaction show. He was actually in there taking bumps, and you could tell he actually put a lot of work into it. I'm not a fan of the celebrities who just go in there to promote their newest project and aren't actually wrestling fans. Because you can easily tell the celebrities they get that are actually wrestling fans. You can tell how excited they are to be there. And so those are really great. I hated Floyd Mayweather, mostly because I just do hate Floyd Mayweather. He's a a really terrible person, and and to me it is completely unbelievable that he would beat the Big Show. I know he is one of the top boxers in the world, but realistically, except for Big Show literally kneeling down and letting him take free shots at him, I don't see it being realistic that he could beat the Big Show at all. Big Show could literally crack the man in half if he saw fit. I love the Muppets just because I like the Muppets. The Muppets are always fun for me. I also love Bob Barker. RTM, if you don't know, which you should, he's the host of the greatest game show of all time, The Price is Right, or he was. Speaking of that, Drew Carey could also be on the list. I enjoyed watching him almost pee his pants in the Royal Rumble, scared of Kane. I love Bob Barker's banter with Chris Jericho. If you can't remember, you can probably go watch it on YouTube. They did a little Price is Right Raw version, and him and Jericho go at it a little bit, so that was fun. Hugh Jackman was pretty cool. He got in the ring, and he's a wrestling fan, and legitimately broke Dolph Ziggler's jaw. So he got in there and was throwing some punches, and that was really cool. I know that he didn't do a very good job of what he was doing way back when, but Mr. T, I know the late great Roddy Piper doesn't really have a lot of nice things to say about Mr. T's time in the ring, but I just love his Hall of Fame speech at the Hall of Fame. I guess it was 2 years ago now. Everybody needs to love their mama the way that Mr. T loves his mama. And so that's just really fun to see. And so, okay, sorry. Anyways, I'm a very popular person. So once again, thank you to Farmer, Steven, and RTM Wrestling. Go check most of those people out. They do some really cool stuff. They talk about wrestling, and it's really fun to talk about wrestling with these people. And so it's been really fun building a community of people that we get to talk to each and every week about wrestling, instead of just talking to each other about it. And so, speaking of that, Matt, why don't you introduce that topic that you brought up a little earlier about Seth Rollins? You were having one of the interactions on Twitter with a fan of wrestling and a fan of our show. So why don't you let us know how that happened, and maybe you can get the ball rolling on that one.
Yes, it's... how did it exactly happen? I know I was bored in a makeup shop with my fiance at the time. That was happening. We were talking about Seth Rollins, and we were talking. Sting comes in. You said Sting comes in, gets the title. Sheamus immediately cashes in, takes the title from Rollins. Then that's a good way to clean the slate a little bit, kind of separate the championships, I'm guessing, and stuff. So someone said, yeah, or Farmer said, yeah, but that still leaves the title off of Rollins, and Rollins is fantastic. And I said, yes, but Sheamus is a great heel character. He's a good powerhouse heel that comes in and just does it, you know? And we just went on for a while, and Farmer said Rollins can out-wrestle all but 3 people without breaking a sweat. Is everything okay?
Yeah, just keep going.
Okay. Without breaking a sweat. In which case, I named off about 4 or 5 people. I was like, I put all these people above them. And now it is a show topic where we are going to give you our top 5 wrestlers. And when we're doing this, we're thinking about people who are entertaining, people who are technical wrestlers, in-ring set is great, all that kind of stuff. So would you like me to go first, or would you like to do it one by one?
Yeah, go for it. And I almost dropped my ring down the air vent, so that was me freaking out there. My apologies. I about dropped the ring into the fires of Mordor, as it were. So sorry. Yeah, you can go ahead. Just discuss your top 5 best wrestlers. Let's go for it.
All right, well, when I'm looking for this, I gotta put Neville in there, regardless of what's going on, because Neville's fun to watch. His technicality is amazing. His in-ring sets, his high flyer. He's the whole package, educated feet, everything. After Neville, well, this is in no specific order. No specific order. Put Neville, I would put Cesaro in there, because Cesaro is just amazing to watch. Neville, Cesaro, I put Kevin Owens in there, because the Kevin Owens match is always a good match, regardless of my personal beliefs on the man. He's fun to watch, and he's just good. He can do it from the top rope sometimes. He's a powerhouse, all that stuff. I put Cena and Orton in there because those two are veterans that know how to do it. Cena's recently stepped up his game immensely. He's going to classic Cena, all the moves. Orton's moveset is just great. Like, I'm entertained constantly when he goes to vintage Orton with his just stalking his prey, stomping on the person. He is just legitimately fun to watch. And it's a shame that they're putting him in these like weird rivalries with Sheamus where everyone's so pissed to watch because we've seen it so often. And that leaves me with 4. Does it leave me with 4? Is that 5? That's 5.
You have like 7, I think.
No, that was my top 5. Or Cesaro, Neville, Owens, Orton, Cena.
Cesaro, Orton, Cena, Neville, Owens, Rollins.
Yeah. I didn't put Rollins in there.
But you said Rollins.
Oh. Well, the reason I didn't put Rollins in my top 5, he is a CrossFit Jesus. But
Yeah.
The reason I didn't put Rollins or Lesnar in there was because Lesnar's a fantastic wrestler. He has ability. But his UFC comes out in him sometimes, which in SummerSlam I saw, he got Taker to the ground, and he like just went on top and went to a punching position in less than a second, and I'm like, you can't do that. That's UFC moves. You're moving way too fast right now. And he can't sell. Like when he got a choke slam? He got slammed, went immediately up, walked around the ring, realized he shouldn't have been up, and then like fell down again. And that was the weirdest thing to watch happen. But and Rollins, I just can't put him above any of those top 5 guys. Not yet. He's good, but I put Cena above him.
I mean, the good thing is there are so many great wrestlers in WWE right now that we can have this discussion.
Yeah, it's hard.
It is really hard to make a top 5. I kind of just came up with mine as you were talking. But first, I want to talk about Lesnar. People think that Lesnar is a god. But I swear to God, he has less moves than John Cena does. He suplexes you, and then he gives you an F5. That's literally all he does. And it bugs me because I know that that Lesnar is a technical wrestler. He used to do that, but since coming back from UFC, I feel he's very limited in what he does, and I feel like he could benefit a lot from just expanding upon punching a guy, suplexing a guy again, and then giving him an F5. Because you can't have matches like that with guys like The Undertaker. As you saw, they made a big deal about The Undertaker collapsing. The man is 50 years old, and he can't be taking all those suplexes like that. And so I think I would like Lesnar a lot more if he kind of went back to technical stuff. I know that doesn't really work for his character, but I feel like he could do a little bit more. But anyways, I'm going to get off that soapbox. I'm going to have my top 5 in order. I'm going to start regrettably at number 5 with Neville. I absolutely love Neville. Neville is the reason I got into NXT. I asked that question on Twitter a little earlier today. And seeing the Red Arrow is what got me into watching NXT. And so he's just so much fun to watch, like you said. We all know this. He's just so good. But at the same time, I'm just a little bit jealous of like that immaculate physique he has. And so at the same time, I'm kind of like, just too good, you know? Kind of like that. Anyways, number 4, And like we said, there are so many of these good guys. I could probably change my mind on the order of these tomorrow. But I think these 5 guys kind of sum up my preferences as wrestlers. But number 4, Cesaro. I'm glad that WWE is finally seeing what everybody has been seeing for a long time. I just love watching those uppercuts. Those uppercuts are really, really fun to see. And he just kind of keeps going with it and going with it and going with it. And he's kind of got that great mixture of a great powerhouse, but he's not this. I mean, he is completely jacked, but he's kind of not the big kind of jacked, kind of like an Ahmed Johnson kind of guy who is, 280 pounds of pure muscle, or a Scott Steiner who just looks plain gross. But Cesaro is great. 3, I'm going to put Rollins there, especially Rollins at SummerSlam. I feel like that's the best match I've seen Rollins have just from his standpoint. It looked like he was, like I've said before, like he was wrestling his tail off to just do whatever possible to put on a great show. And he just kind of went for it, and that's what I really enjoyed about Seth Rollins. Number 2, Kevin Owens. I love Kevin Owens. There's no one that can do everything that Kevin Owens does, and a big guy at that. Just the stuff that he does that all these other guys can do, but they're not the same type of wrestler. They're not the same size as Kevin Owens, and that's what makes it really amazing to me. And that's what has made me latch on to Kevin Owens as a character. He just, all those things that he can do. Okay, go away. Leave me alone. Sorry. Number 1, we haven't sadly seen this man in a while, but the greatest wrestling match I've ever seen in my life involves Sami Zayn. And as you guys know, I love Sami Zayn. This guy can do it all. He's kind of got a physique like Cesaro, but he's not quite as strong as Cesaro. But he makes up for that in all those amazing acrobatic moves and jumping off the top rope and just kind of being really innovative with his style. He doesn't just always jump over the top rope. He'll put a spin on it, or he'll jump to the outside and bounce off a rope and then to the outside. It's just really fun to watch. All these guys are just super fun to watch. And I think we're lucky. I think this is one of the better times in wrestling right now that we've had in a long time. And I know there's still a lot that we're all going to complain about. But just from the wrestling aspect, I think we're in a lot better place than we have been in the past, where you just kind of get the same old things over and again. You get the Orton versus Sheamus over and over again. They put on good matches, but at the same time, we've seen these matches over and over. And so also, I just like seeing the fresh faces in there showing off what they can do. And so that's what makes it fun to me. Do you have anything else you want to add to that?
I'm surprised you didn't put Dolph Ziggler in there.
I know. I love Ziggler. And honestly, I didn't even think about him until you just mentioned it. Which is sad. But like I said, like tomorrow I could completely change and think that. I think a lot of it has to do with poor booking, sadly, on Dolph Ziggler's end. He's not in that high spot like the rest of those guys really are, except for maybe Neville. He's probably a little higher on the card than Neville.
Yeah.
But like Rollins and Cesaro and Owens, they're in the top spots every night, and so they're showcased a little more. But yeah, Dolph's amazing. I love Dolph. I like seeing him in pants. That was really fun and new and exciting to see. And so it's kind of amazing how big of an uproar can be caused by a man wearing pants for once.
I remember when Batista came out in jeans, he got a really big pop. Now here's a question though. If Daniel Bryan was an everyday wrestler, would you put him in the top 5? Because I wouldn't.
I wouldn't put him in the top 5. I'd definitely put him top 10. But I mean, I really like Daniel Bryan, but at the same time, I just like these guys better. That's nothing against him. He's a phenomenal wrestler. But I think if he's going to come back, he's going to have to tone his wrestling style down a lot. He was supposed to do that the last time he came back. He didn't do that. He he went balls to the walls, and you have to commend him for that because he still wanted to go out there and put on the best show possible. Unfortunately for him, that didn't quite work out. But no, I don't think I would put him in my top 5. Great guy though, good people. That Daniel Bryan. Okay, so I think that's all for that, and I think we're gonna get to our big month-long super project here. And starting off, we want to thank our great friend Steven Sorrell for helping us out and using his website to create a poll, as it were. And so I was just kind of thinking one day, the fans to me is what makes the show in WWE. And so I always love the moments where you get this huge giant pop, and oftentimes known as Road Warrior pop. A little bit more recently to myself and RTM Wrestling, potentially Dolph Ziggler pop, or even Blue Pants pop, if you're into that sort of a thing. But so I just kind of wanted to know what everyone thought is some of the biggest pops of all time, or what their favorite pops of all time are. So I'm going to go down this list of people who gave us their thoughts. And so first I always wanted to thank them for getting input on the show. And then we'll run down some of our favorite pops, and then if we skip any, we'll add those in at the end from the site from Steven's poll. And so first off, honestly, I'm not sure how to pronounce this name, but I'll spell it out for you. Their Twitter handle is @BAIACC24_SC Bayak 24. Anyways, their thoughts would be most recently with Dolph Ziggler cashing in Money in the Bank, The Rock returning in 2011. And then next from Mark Joseph, and he is @Mark_Joseph_A. His thought was for very recently Sami Zayn's debut in Montreal, and also Bret Hart's fake return in 2005. If you'll remember, a dastardly trick by Shawn Michaels trying to portray a heel in a match with some jackass. But we're not going to bring that guy up because he's terrible. And Mark also says CM Punk's pop that he got in Chicago for Money in the Bank 2011, his entrance into Money in the Bank, and after he won the match against John Cena to win the title. Definitely some really big, great pops. Our next one from Mr. Tony Brazier, and he is @TonyBrazier69 on Twitter. Mankind beating The Rock for the title on Raw, and if you remember, that was the night on WCW where Tony Schiavone said they let everybody know what was going to happen because Raw was taped, and immediately 600,000 people changed the channel to Raw to see Mick Foley beat The Rock. It's one of the great moments. And the last couple inputs we have here from @TedIsLegend, and yes, I promise you he is an actual legend, said Daniel Bryan winning the title at WrestleMania 30. And as I alluded to before, our friends at RTM Wrestling, Ziggler's most recent return on Raw a few weeks ago, and as well Blue Pants at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. So once again, we want to thank all of you for getting us some input. Also, thank you to everyone who voted on letstalkwwe.com. We don't have your names, unfortunately, but we do thank you for your input. So Matt, biggest pops in wrestling history. What are some of your favorite pops that you've ever heard?
Two come to mind when I think of the biggest ones. The first one would be WrestleMania 23, main events, Kurt Angle, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio for the World Heavyweight Championship, This was after Eddie passed. A couple months later, like 6, 8 months later, they gave Ray a huge push. It was a fantastic match. To this day, one of my top 10 favorite matches of all time. Ray won it, and the crowd just went insane. Ray's family came out, and like, they're all hugging each other. It's one of those like special like tribute moments to Eddie Grove, pretty much, but it was Ray instead. And then the biggest pop I remember, of course, I'm jaded because I love this moment. I forget the pay-per-view. Teddy Long. It was already a tag team match. It was a one-on-one. Jack Taylor, William Regal. That first name may have been wrong, but they were going to go against Brian Kendrick and Paul London for the tag matches. Teddy Long comes out and says, "Players, this is now a ladder match, and I'm gonna add 2 more tag teams to this right now." And so, in true Teddy fashion, he adds more tag teams to the tag team match, and Eminem comes out, which that got a pretty big pop because they had been actually disbanded for a couple months at that point. And then the Hardy Boys hadn't wrestled in a couple years as a team. And they're all like, Hardys, Hardys, and then their music hits, and there's the place erupts. You know how the Hardys music is, and the music, the lights are going, it's like a rave in there. And I remember as one of the biggest pops ever.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's one I think a lot of people wouldn't think of. That I think I remember what you're talking about. I feel like I've watched that match on the network at your request, and so I feel like I know what you're talking about. I want to elaborate on one of these. I think it's one of the biggest pops that I can remember was that match with Mankind and The Rock. And I say this because it had 2 absolutely huge pops. The first one was a Stone Cold pop when he came out and hit The Rock with the chair. The crowd went absolutely nuts. Like, it was deafening to watch. But then when Mankind gets the 3 on The Rock, it got louder. And it was just an absolutely amazing moment. Mick Foley had worked, 15 years up to that moment. And it was really, really great. I'm obviously biased once again. I would have to say Dolph Ziggler cashing in Money in the Bank. That crowd, I think that was the first crowd, that first Monday after WrestleMania crowd that was really, really big and that did all those chants that post-WrestleMania crowds are known for. And so I'm a little biased towards that. That was a really great one. For me, live, just the few weeks ago that I was at Raw, the pop for Undertaker and Lesnar's fight was absolutely amazing. Everybody was going crazy watching these 2 behemoths go at each other, and it was really great. I'm going to go through some of the rest of these that people have voted for. It doesn't really matter what order they're in. We're not going to crown a champion. But a few of these, Stone Cold crashes Mr. McMahon's title ceremony, which, as you'll remember, was the Zamboni night. Just a lot of great fun wrestling memories there. The Undertaker returns at Judgment Day. I remember that night watching it live. This big guy with a motorcycle comes down and attacks DX in good old JR fashion. My God, that's the Undertaker! And really, really fun. I really enjoyed that. I think you can you'll be able to do good on this one. Triple H's return in 2002 after his torn quad. What do you remember about that one?
I actually, 2001, I wasn't a wrestling fan in 2001 that much.
Yeah, you've seen it though. Like, we've all seen that. Like,
yeah, I've seen it. I just wouldn't. I don't know. I mean, I would definitely put Stone Cold crashing the title sequences higher. Because I'm
not arguing with that. I'm just saying it was a huge pop. Like, Triple H coming back. He's one of the biggest stars of the Attitude Era, and being out that long, he got an amazing pop. Everybody was super excited to see the game back in action. This one is arguably one of the most memorable moments in wrestling. Taker throwing Mankind off the Hell in a Cell at King of the Ring. I think half of that pop was Jim Ross, but at the same time, it was just one of those moments, and in these moments the crowd goes nuts. Yes.
That was one of the few moments where I'm like, that had to hurt like hell. I don't have too many of those because they learn how to take bumps, but you don't learn that. That's something like, hey, why at the end you just throw me off?
Yeah, I don't know how they came up with that idea. Just throw me off. It'll be great. But
he was probably just making your mama jokes the whole time. He's like, you know what? It's just, this is it.
Yeah, Undertaker had enough, and all right. So the next highest vote is other, but nobody made a comment about what their other vote was. So this is going to be our time for you, the viewer, to think about what your favorite pop of all time was. And so if you haven't already, let us know what you think is the biggest pop in wrestling history, and that'll be our other.
No one voted for Shawn Michaels returning from the back injury?
No, and that's another one. That's another really good one.
Because he was taken from like the prime of his career in injuries.
Yeah, that's a good one. There's just so many. We could sit here all night and just think of huge pops that have happened. Hell, the Dudley Boys got a giant pop just on Raw this week. Everybody was freaking out about the Dudleys, but we'll get to that subject a little bit later. I'm not sure if we have time to do it. We could do it, but I have a lot to rant on that subject. Anyways, Rock and Hogan, WrestleMania 18, the Icon versus Icon match. The crowd was split, which is one of the big things. I feel like it's one of those big crowd noise moments where it's not just for one guy. Half the crowd was on one side and half the crowd was on the other. And so that's really what I remember from the match. I was shocked because to me, Hulk Hogan was the bad guy, The Rock was the good guy, and I had no idea why these people were cheering for some jerk named Hulk Hogan. They really shouldn't have been, because he is a terrible person. So you've got that. Next one, a goodie but an oldie. I hate to stroke the man's ego even more. Hogan slamming Andre at WrestleMania. There was 93,000 people there. It's kind of hard for it to not be really loud. But yeah, really good. And another one, our last one we have here, Seth Rollins cashing in Money in the Bank at WrestleMania this year. What did you think about that one? That was a good pop, and it was outside, so I feel like that's a little harder to have that big of a pop when they're in an outside arena like that. What do you think about that one?
I feel like every cash-in has been thunderous, but the last moment, you already had a big match with Lesnar in there. They were enjoying it. That was at the time the crowd was kind of down on Reigns. So they were enjoying the beatdown he was getting. And just out of nowhere, Rollins hits. He had a fantastic match earlier in the night. He lost. He comes out, and the crowd just goes crazy for him.
Yeah.
He gets the win. I remember him almost getting a bigger pop standing up at the ramp with the title.
Yeah, he was swinging the title around his head and really excited. But yeah, what you said, the Money in the Bank cash-ins, the one I can think of was RVD beating Cena at the ECW one night stand or whatever pay-per-view that was, and those diehard ECW fans were tearing Cena apart through the entire night, but they just absolutely freaked out when RVD won the title, and so that was just another one of those great moments.
Also, you can throw in with the biggest pops, the biggest silent moment when Lesnar lost. Not Lesnar, Undertaker lost at WrestleMania, the silence of the crowd.
I don't remember The Undertaker ever losing at WrestleMania. I don't know what you're talking about there.
Actually, I think that's funny because we were texting that night, and I think you were like, yeah, Undertaker's going to win anyway, and you went to get food or something. And I'm like, wait, what the hell was that? What did I just see? And you raced back, you're like, what? What was it?
Bro, Dolph Zack Ryder just tweeted us.
Are you serious?
Yeah, man, I am serious,
God.
bro.
Oh my god, I just got it.
Oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing ever. You were catching this live on Locker Talk. Zack Ryder has just tweeted us. This is the greatest moment of my life.
Oh my god.
Oh man, wow.
This is by far the biggest moment.
Yeah, sorry guys, this is the best we're ever gonna do, so it's all downhill from here. I don't know what we can do to top that.
And if you guys remember the very beginning, we said we were going to try to contact Zack Ryder on getting on the show. This is the closest it comes.
Oh man. And hey, we got him into the show this week as our contract calls for, so wow.
That's insanity.
There's a curveball right in the middle of the show. That's wow. And by he just tweeted us now, we mean he just tweeted us on Wednesday night, because this is obviously Saturday and not Wednesday. Wow. Holy crap. I just lost my train of thought. Woo-wee. Yeah, so I think that's everything. I think that's a full topic of show. We're close to the hour mark, which is good. So announcements. First announcement, Zack Ryder has tweeted us. Has he tweeted you? Probably not, so suck it there. Matt, do you have any announcements?
No, my mind's blank right now. I can't think of anything.
Okay, yeah, composure here, composure. Yeah, I can't think of anything else to add. If you don't have anything to add, I think we can get to our hashtag of the week. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, so hashtag of the week. Hashtag sick. Because it is indeed sick that Zack Ryder is who I can't. Wow, this is amazing. So once again, thank you for watching WWE Locker Talk. As always, my co-host Matt, I am Colton. If you like the video, make sure you hit the like button right down this direction. Leave a comment if you like. Tweet us on Twitter. We love talking to you guys. It's the best thing about what we do here. So make sure you tweet us at WWE Locker Talk. Cool people like Zack Ryder do it, so you should definitely do it as well. And so that's it. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week for an all-new show. We're going to talk about John Cena, we're going to talk about Randy Orton, and we're going to talk about the greatest ladder matches of all time. So once again, I am Colton, that is Matt, and this has been WWE Locker Talk.